I saw Johnny Manziel lead a comeback drive in the fourth quarter against Ole Miss after partying in the Grove. SEC football is fun. I will give it that.
I went to a bachelor party 5 years later in Montreal and saw Johnny Manziel having a cig outside of a strip club.
At Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog. Happy New Year's Day to everyone. We're here. It's 2026 now. Not as we record this, but as you are watching or listening to this, it is 2026. So we need to talk about the best moments in sports from 2025. We've never done a year-long recap, have we?
Nope, not that I can recall.
Garion can even back. I was looking back at old Pat Mayo Hour episodes, and still nothing from that.
Yeah, I don't think so. So this will be fun.
So the plan here is we'll throw out our short lists.
Didn't there, correct me if I'm wrong with the old show, didn't you record like
I did
10 mini episodes of moments of the year?
It was 21 short episodes of different things of the year. Pop culture.
That's what I remember.
Music, movies, sports, whatever it might be.
I did one on Community.
You did do one. The Dan Harmon effect of Community.
Yeah.
This was all in 2013.
That's when
the
it
show,
was.
if people were wondering. So that's 12 years ago. I don't even think you can find those.
13 years ago, because it's 2026.
But it would be December of 2026 to make it 13 years ago. Yeah. It was 12 years ago when all those episodes. Because I was in Toronto when I came home for Christmas. I was like, well, it's before I had a studio at my house here. So it has here 21 episodes that are not going out of date. And they didn't, which was great. Anyway, so we're going to come up with a short list. Some of your favorite sports, if you're watching this, may be underrepresented. Deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm not up on cricket.
I'm hoping that I captured some of the moments that are less popular in the major sports we cover, but...
Should we also go over what we consider this list to be? Are we talking about pure moments?
It could be anything.
Okay, is a game a moment?
Yes.
A game could be a moment. A player could be a moment. Someone mispronouncing someone could be a moment.
Yeah.
And we'll try to come up with our top 5 by the end of this. But I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Smash the like, sub to the channel, share this show around, have some fun with it. Play it Underdog Code Mayo, all that good stuff. I want to hear your top 5 moments. You give me your top 3 moments. Top 5's hard to come by. So top 3 moments in the comment section of the year. How should we start this? Just start throwing stuff out?
Should we start with our top 3 and see how much crossover we maybe have?
See, I just came up with a short list.
Yeah,
okay.
Me too. In no particular order, really.
So I'm sure that you're going to have a ton of baseball, Garion, and basketball, because those are the 2 sports you cover. I tried to keep golf to a minimum. I actually only have one golf.
I have one golf.
I
think we all have the same golf.
Okay, so let's start there. Rory winning the Masters is the moment of the year in golf.
Sunday, Augusta with Rory. Because it's not just the putt. It's everything that leads up to the putt. It's
the shank into
on
the water.
13. It's
the double on the first hole.
Yeah, so it's that whole Sunday at Augusta for Rory.
The amazing shot on 15 from around the tree.
Yeah. And Justin Rose's performance in that day, which forced it into a playoff.
You know what people don't talk about from that day? Bryson no-showing Sunday at the Masters.
Well, that's because Rory wouldn't talk to him.
What an excuse that has to be.
He's used to being gregarious and talking with his playing partners and having fun. And Rory was in Tiger Woods 2000 mode, and he just wasn't talking to anybody.
You don't think Rory's going to be on break 50 next season?
No, that would be great. But no, I don't.
You.
So
they should do it, but they still don't talk to each other.
So I actually had that as if you're going to rank them, I had that as number 2 sporting moment.
Okay, well, it seems like that was our go-to for golf. It was golf so rarely can breach into the collective, and that did.
Yeah,
because I was
going to say I'm a good barometer for this because I am not someone who watches all that much golf. And yes, it's the Masters, so that's kind of its own thing. But I even remember going out for dinner that night and a restaurant where I wouldn't normally assume they would have television or live sports on. Every TV was showing the Masters, and everyone was just engrossed in it because Rory's that big a deal.
It was the most I've gotten from people in my life that have never talked to me about golf, talking to me about golf.
There's only one. Yeah, that was by far the biggest golf moment with a bullet.
The only one that live thing.
The only thing that was even
Nashville.
The only thing that was even close.
Ryder Cup.
And for the wrong reasons was Ryder Cup and what the American crowd was doing at the Ryder Cup, coupled with the Europeans nearly winning it on Saturday.
And then almost losing
it on Sunday, but not losing it. But like for all the wrong reasons, like the Ryder Cup was the other thing I think that breached out of golf and even out of sports that a bit into popular culture, but not at the level.
The Rory round though, it was so like you couldn't have drawn up something more, just from a narrative perspective, that was more engaging. Like even just hole 72, like you have that iconic tee shot, and he just stripes one down the middle of the fairway, and you're like, this is it, it's over. And then he immediately puts his next shot, the approach shot,
into the sand trap.
It makes a nice up and down out of there.
He does. But yeah, no. So I think, I don't know how much we need to rehearse it. Like that's clearly one of the with a clear moment of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. So my nomination that's going to be up here, which is really, as devotees of the show will know, not really my forte, but the finals of the Four Nation Cup, Canada over the USA hockey, height of 51st state crap going on. It felt like it just, again, like golf, hockey doesn't break through all that often. It's the first time the best on best played in hockey in 10 years?
Yeah, 11, I think.
Yep.
So it's the 2014 Olympics.
So that was a big moment. And then you had all of the US-Canada tension and the political tension anyway. Then you have this game in Boston. Canada gets up, the U.S. ties it, it goes to overtime, then all of a sudden McDavid ends up scoring the winning goal. It's very reminiscent of Crosby scoring in Salt Lake City over the Americans in America at the same time. Yep. The best Canadian player ends up scoring in overtime.
Or Crosby in Vancouver.
Yeah, Crosby in Vancouver. It was Vancouver. I thought it was Salt Lake City.
No, Sakic scored. They won 5-2 in Salt Lake City.
But yeah,
2010 was Vancouver.
Yeah, in 2010, Crosby scores the goal.
The overtime winner.
Yeah. It felt like a big. I remember.
It was one of those moments.
Where was I going? That was in February. I was going to the Dominican Republic. So as people know, that the move is get a hotel room if you have an early flight at the airport instead of having to wake up at 3:00 in the morning to drive to the airport. You can just go. You can have a glass of wine at the hotel bar. You can get to bed early, wake up a little bit later, shower before you get on your flight. So I went to the hotel bar, and it was just people engaged with what was going on.
It was like can't miss television.
We had people over to our building where they have like a little theater room. You can fit like 15 people. They've got, it's not like a movie theater size screen, but it's a big screen, bigger than any TV you could have. And yeah, like again, I'm with you, Pat. That was one of the first things we bonded over when we met in college, was that we both did not care about hockey, but pretty engrossed in this. Was very, very into it. And also, this is another we're picking that one game, but definitely helped by the fact that not only had the Americans beaten Canada pretty soundly on the ice in the round robin portion of the tournament, but they'd literally beat the crap out of them. There was 3 fights in the first 10 minutes.
I forgot that was the best part of the game. There were just fights at the beginning.
At the start of the game. At puck drop, there were fights. Yeah. And the Montreal crowd in the first game did not cover themselves in glory, to say the least.
So where do we go from here?
Okay, so then the other, I think, unquestionable moment is Game 7.
So not Game 3.
That's one of them.
Not
18 innings is one of them.
So I think Game 3 suffers. I would say this. I think the most engrossing 4 innings of baseball that were played this season were the 7th to the 11th inning of Game 3. But then it got really dull for a long time. Whereas Game 7, wire to wire, as much as it still hurts me to think about, was just incredible.
They had everything.
So how about just the World Series? Because very rarely does the World Series kind of pop out. And as sort of it
was the greatest World Series, I think, of my lifetime.
Angels Giants was really good.
Yankees Diamondbacks was too, because it had a ton of dramatic moments.
Yeah,
and Cardinals Rangers in 2011.
That's probably the most similar to this one.
But you know what? Cardinals
Game
Rangers,
7 was terrible.
Game 7 was real bad.
Yeah, but Game 6 was one of the greatest games in the history of the game.
I would throw Ohtani as a person, as a moment in here with the World Series. Just the 3 home run game, the strikeouts, just his entire season.
Yeah, so I was going to say, in terms of individual performances of the year, this didn't happen in the World Series, but to clinch the National League in Game 4 of the NLDS, Ohtani strikes out 10 and hits 3 home runs against the Brewers.
Probably the greatest individual performance in the game's history.
And then you had Cust at Game 1 in person chanting, "We don't need you."
With 60,000 of my closest friends.
Not me. Your closest friend was standing next to you. You know who was not chanting that?
True. But hey, look, I attended one World Series game. Blue Jays are 1-0. Other people went to 3. They're 0-3.
Now,
that Game 7, probably given the stakes, was the best game in baseball history. Maybe the 91 Twins and Braves game
the 10
7.
inning Jack Morris game.
Maybe that's got a case. Maybe, there were other great game 7s, Marlins, Indians, and
61 World Series, the Mazeroski home run.
Or the Cubs, Indians 2016 game 7. That was up there.
Yeah.
I would actually throw out was it game 4? I can't even remember which game it was, but it's the Dave Roberts Steele game.
That's game 4 of the ALCS.
Game 4, that is, despite the fact it's a game 4, that is one of the most talked about games in history.
Like that game just vividly lives in my mind.
But it was game 6 when A-Rod smashed the ball out of the first baseman's hand, I think.
Yeah, that was game 6.
Game
7 of that series was a rout. I think Boston scored 15 runs.
I hate to be the prisoner of the moment, and so there are other great games historically that are there, but I think given everything that was taking place and that Ohtani was in it too, and the Dodgers were going for, I think you can make the argument that was the biggest game in baseball history.
Now, so this was the conversation that I was interested to have if we were determining that moments were just singular plays.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, the biggest moment is the Pages catch.
If we were doing that, is the Rojas home run or the Will Smith home run more impactful? Because I think about the Rojas home run.
I think it's the Pages catch.
I'm getting my game.
That saved the World Series.
I'm getting my games. I think it's game 6 then when the ball got stuck.
When Barger, got it lodged underneath the wall.
I feel like that was a real turning point in the series.
Yeah, because then it resulted in a double play on the next at bat.
Yeah, instead of scoring the winning run.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like IKF taking a one-step lead off third base and choosing to slide. He just run through the plate. He was safe.
Or even just Rojas, just for a second, losing his footing on that play. I thought he was going to fall on his ass.
But to me, it's the Pages catch was the actual thing, because if he doesn't make that play, the game ends at that moment. So that's why I say that's the most iconic play of the most iconic World Series I can think of.
I don't know, man. That still shot of who was it you just said out at home?
IKF?
Oh, yeah, like that still shot of like the 2 inches of difference between his foot being home. Like that's
not even the most impressive still shot of that game. It's Jeff Feinberg on top of the dugout like this, like Mr. Body in Clue.
I just think the Rojas home run is so interesting. Like I even had, I had people over at my house, and not all of them are like the biggest baseball fans in the world. Like a lot of people in the city, everyone just sort of got swept up in it and wanted to be part of it. And
I came to Toronto to see a baseball game. That gives you a suggestion of the stakes.
But the Rojas one was interesting because, just like everyone else, and I think Dan Shulman even admitted this on the broadcast, but I had a friend turn to me and go, "What do you do with Ohtani? Do you intentionally walk him?" And I was like, "Well, they have to pitch to Rojas first."
I had the same conversation with my dad. I was watching with him. I said, "Well, I guess you got to pitch to Rojas because then you can maybe pitch around Ohtani if you want to." Ohtani had not had a very good game 7.
No,
he didn't actually.
But then he did fly out. People forget he flew out to the warning track. It looked like he was about to hit back-to-back home runs.
It did. So anyway, I think game 7 is that third iconic moment. And I think those are, in my opinion, I think there's a couple of that are close. Those are the 3 biggest moments of the sporting year.
I have one more.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say the interesting thing about, because I guess the Four Nations wasn't like a championship game, and golf doesn't have it does have a championship, I guess, but
that no one
we talked about the pinnacle of these sports at this point. The interesting thing I found when thinking back, because these are the 2 farthest championships away from us currently, like I had a hard time finding like a defining Super Bowl moment. I had a hard time even finding.
So I had a football
defining NBA Finals moment.
So I had a few. I think my next one is the other one that goes on this list.
Okay, but if we're pick 6,
what's that?
The Cooper DeJean pick 6.
I actually had the Luka trade as.
Oh yeah.
As the next biggest thing.
I have Luka Doncic trade on my list. We'll talk about that. So to me, Halliburton was the story of
the Pacers
playoffs.
Were the story of the
Pacers
playoffs.
were the story of the playoffs.
I would say Halliburton's game 1 buzzer beater is the moment, even though they lose the series.
I actually think
the Luka trade is the NBA moment.
Or the shot he made against the Knicks.
The Knicks game 1
the choke
was just insane.
Yeah, Halliburton as the player was the moment. And if he doesn't get hurt in game 7, maybe they beat Oklahoma
If we're just
City.
talking moments, it's not a positive moment, but him tearing his Achilles in game 7 is.
I think the Pacers probably more likely than not win the game if he plays.
I don't know. He was hurt going into. That's why he tore his Achilles. He was playing on no calf to begin with.
I get it.
But the Luka trade has to win this. This is the only NBA show I did all year. I woke up, thought it was a joke, and I was like,
and
okay.
it was like Super Bowl week, and it took over from Super Bowl coverage. It was that big of a deal.
It broke at what, 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
Shams followed it up by having to specify that he was not joking. This was actually happening. He was not hacked. I remember, I know I'm not the only person who sometimes experiences this phenomenon, but I grabbed my phone in the morning, waking up next to my partner, and I made a sound like a family member had died or something. And she got very animated, like, what is happening? And I was like, oh, Luka got traded.
There was a whole TikTok meme
it's a big deal.
of that happening, where people just reacting to the Luka trade on TikTok for like a month.
So did we figure out what happened here?
I mean, if you want to go full Bill Simmons, like, conspiracy theory.
I don't, but is there like a reasonable explanation for what happened?
I mean, no, that's why the GM got fired.
Yeah, but like, no, he got fired. Maybe. But why do you not shop him around and get way more?
That's what didn't make sense. Like, I could, even in a weird, like, very narrow scope, I could get behind the, like, do you ever win a championship with Luka as your best player? I don't know. He's like that bad a defender. He's not someone you look at least prior to the trade and go, this guy's going to age well.
Yeah.
Now he's on the cover of Men's Fitness magazine.
But the fact that they really only seemed to negotiate with the Lakers was crazy. Now, again, I mean, the fact that they then get they had like 1.6% chance the first overall pick, and suddenly they get Cooper Flagg, who's already dropping 40 points in a game at 19 years old. I don't know. It's all a little weird. But yeah,
serendipitous.
To this day, it's just probably the craziest transaction. Like, it's that or Herschel Walker, right? Like, those are the two craziest trades.
Ricky Williams.
That on draft day, where the Saints gave up all their picks for Ricky Williams. Yeah, that's up there.
But in the NBA, there's only one other, like, Pacers, then Thunder, like the Thunder being a dominant team, especially as it's gone into this year. Halliburton is kind of the most exciting player of the year. The Luka trade. And then that really weird Kawhi story is the other one.
Yeah.
Yes. That was a strange story. I tried to keep the negatives out of my list, honestly.
I don't even know that is a negative. I just don't understand.
It's a weird story.
So he got paid to be a promote. Listen, it's not like Pat Mayo hasn't engaged in some of these activities before. It's part of the biz. But if you want to circumvent the salary cap, this is one way to do it. You don't think that like Dirk was getting pieces of the Mavs when he was like making like $10 million a year when they were winning the championship? Come on. All right, people, it's that time of year again. The Mayo Cup is officially open. That's right, your yearly reminder that you could win life-changing money if you stop making coward picks and actually commit to greatness. Let's talk stakes, because the Mayo Cup, not messing around. $110,000 to first place. $110,000 actual, real dollars. And with your $250 entry, you're playing for a prize pool of $1.2 million. That's 7 figures of pure, delicious fantasy golf sweat. And this season, the Mayo Cup is fully available in the Fanball app. Week-to-week picks, leaderboard sweats, berating yourself for fading the guy who wins by 6. You can do it all right from your phone. So head to the Fanball app, search for the Mayo Cup, and get yourself entered. $1.2 million in prizes. $110,000 to the winner. Just $250 to play. This is the year, unless you blow it again. But hey, you might not. Sign up now. The contest tees off January 15th. I gotta tell you about pre-alcohol, my secret weapon before a night out. I used to choose a great night or a great next day. Now, I get both with Z-Biotics. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic made by PhD scientists to fight rough mornings. Alcohol creates a toxic byproduct in your gut, not dehydration, that ruins the next day. Pre-alcohol makes an enzyme to break it down. Drink it first, drink it responsibly, and wake up still feeling fresh. I was skeptical, but the first time that I tried it, rooftop, with my pals, drank it before my first cocktail, next morning, felt amazing, ready to crush the day. Go to zbiotics.com/PatMayo to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Pat Mayo at checkout. ZBiotic is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/PatMayo and use the code PatMayo at checkout for 15% off. The holidays are here, the season of giving, and at Underdog, they're going big. They even hooked me up with Thunderbirds tickets. It was great. It's like Underdog knows me better than I know myself. But here's the crazy part. They know you guys just as well. From now through the 31st, Underdog is dropping exactly what you want. Daily promos every single day. College football, pro football, basketball, fight sports, you name it. Promos every day for you to enjoy. So check your app every day. It's Underdog Unwrapped, and it's going to be our best one ever.
So I have a football moment of the year. To me, it was a pretty decisive one for me. It was the moment of the year.
Okay, so I had a bunch of football stuff, but it's all I narrowed it down to 4.
See if mine's on there.
So the Cardinals.
No, they're not on this list. There's nothing the Arizona Cardinals have done.
With a lot of money on the line for me.
Oh, well, that's just a stupid
decided
moment.
to drop the ball while going into the end zone, resulting in a touchback, and then following it up with a turnover in their own end where they kicked the ball into their own end zone and the Titans fell on it and won the game. That's number 1 NFL moment of the year.
Yesterday, I was at the gym on the elliptical, and TSM was showing moments of the year, and that play happened, and I had to stop because I was laughing because I'd forgotten about that play. I was like, oh, no, that moment, that was terrible.
So when it's all said and done, is that the top, like, weird holy roller football moment of the year, or is it the 2-point conversion in Seahawks-Rams?
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's
probably
the one. The Seahawks-Rams one.
And it would have been the Lions last week if that had counted. Because it did count, but then it didn't count.
Yeah, exactly.
I still don't quite understand.
The play should have been dead. Forward progress had been stopped for about 3 seconds before he threw the ball.
So weirdly enough, I don't have any Eagles stuff on here.
Me either.
Despite the fact they won the Super Bowl.
Me either.
Again, I think if you're going to pick a moment from that Super Bowl, it's the DeJean kick six.
It would have been.
The game was like over.
But I don't even think there was nothing in that.
It was a blowout.
The only exciting thing in that Super Bowl was the guy that we were in the room with who bet Jahan Dotson first touchdown.
Tim Butts.
And he started celebrating, and then they called it back to the inch-yard line. That was like the only thrilling moment of that game. Then
brutal.
It was just over.
Oh.
And then I won a bunch of money on Hurts' first touchdown, which was great.
And then Mahomes got his over at the end of the game.
At the end. So I actually think Mahomes is the story of the year.
Okay.
From the Chiefs being down, but him kind of clawing them to the Super Bowl, them getting waxed, and then this entire year, everyone making excuses for Mahomes, saying that, myself included, that the Chiefs are going to be okay, and it just kind of fizzled and ends with him blowing at his kneecap and not even knowing if he's going to come back. Like, he is the biggest star in the sport outside of his teammate Travis Kelce, the most famous person in the sport. He is the most important player in the league. He is the best player in the league, and I can't recall a 12-month period for the best player in any league that just went so horribly wrong.
The only one I can think of is Brady loses Super Bowl 42.
And then blows in week
the
1,
perfect season, and then in week 1, he misses the whole next year. That's the only thing that's even kind of comparable.
Yeah, but he didn't have this prolonged period of the team struggling. It was over so fast in week 1.
You're right. But the loss in the Super Bowl was significantly more painful. But yeah, I granted.
And then he's just gone. Like, he's out of sight, out of mind.
But to me, that's the only comp that I can kind of make. That's
like,
close.
we had to watch Mahomes with Tyquan Thornton and no offensive line and an aging roster that can't do anything. And
this is a good point. My football moment of the year, the one that sticks out to me the most, which is the most consequential, is the Mark Andrews drop of the 2-point conversion.
Oh, that didn't even.
That changed the whole season. I'm of the opinion that Ravens team were on their way to maybe this was their year. And they score that touchdown. Lamar has that iconic drive in the snow, takes them all the way down. They get the touchdown. He puts it right in Mark Andrews' hands. The Bills are on their heels. They're losing that game. And Andrews drops it, and the bottom falls out. The Bills lose the next week. The Chiefs get to a Super Bowl. The Chiefs were not a great team last year. I think the Ravens would have probably taken that Chiefs team in the championship game.
The Ravens have not been the same. They might miss the playoffs. Lamar is a shell. Harbaugh might get fired.
All because, in part, not all because of, but if Mark Andrews holds on to that ball, I think the whole snow globe, the snowflakes all fall differently. So
I had that game circled, and I'll be honest, I forgot about that moment.
That's to me the most consequential moment in football of 2025.
The other one I had was just Jaden Daniels' playoff run.
Was iconic.
It was so much fun. Like, being a Commanders fan, I'm not, but if you were,
Kenny Kim was walking on cloud 9 when we were in Montreal for the weekend. I can understand it. I'll be the exact same way when Ty Simpson does these things.
but just getting to the NFC Championship game, in a game they should have lost to the Buccaneers. Then they blow out the Lions. Like, oh my God. We should have known about the Lions then, as it turns out.
Yeah.
When they got ran
Two
over by the Commanders.
really bad playoff losses in 2 years. That's hard to get over.
So the top two that I ended up having are not like, I wouldn't say you would say they're positive football stories, negative football stories, just stories. I think Shedeur Sanders might be the number one story in football this year.
I think that speaks to the point you were making before, where we've allowed a subpar Mahomes season to be like the most prevalent storyline. And this goes back to the conversations we've been having for weeks about like the MVP and who's the best team in the NFL. Like, this has been a year of such parity that there really hasn't been like one dominating force. But when you have a storyline like Shedeur Sanders, where everyone has an opinion, it really has risen to, I mean, people just care. People care about that guy. And I will say this, he's fun to watch play. He's basically just Ryan Fitzpatrick with drama.
Yeah.
And a worse arm.
Yes. Fair.
But just from draft day to the beginning of the year, like through training camp.
Which draft day? Several of them.
Yeah, to day 3 of draft day. But even in the pre, like, Shedeur cooked everyone in the first drive of this, in the 8th drive in his first drive of the second preseason game. Like, there was so much coverage.
I agree.
And it's funny to watch him play. He's been just so mediocre. Like, he hasn't been so bad. You're like, he hasn't been laughably bad. No. He hasn't been good. He hasn't even been average. But he's like in the jet zone of quarterbacks. Like, well, as you were pointing out earlier, that Brady Cook might actually be the worst of all these quarterbacks who have ever played for the Jets.
In the last 20 years. Ooh. In the last 20 years, and that is quite a statement. I think Brady Cook has got a strong. Look at those numbers. Look at what Brady Cook has been doing. I mean, he's been sacked like 21 times in 3 games, and has like 7 interceptions and like 1 touchdown.
The guy who ended up playing for the Dolphins last
Tim
season.
Boyle.
Tim Boyle Tim Boyle is in the conversation. Kellen Clemens is in the conversation. Like, there's unfortunately a litany of horrible Jets quarterbacks. Brady Cook is definitely amongst that miserable Mount Rushmore of terrible Jets quarterbacks in the last 20 years.
So there is one other football story that I think that is worth mentioning here.
The Jets winning the trade deadline in the greatest way possible.
I was going to say Belichick to North Carolina.
Well, the thing is, that story was really
specifically
interesting.
Week 1, like, if you really need a moment, week 1 on national television. But then the first touchdown drive where it seemed like it was all coming together, and then just nothing else.
But like after 2 weeks, that was out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, but then no one was talking about it anymore.
But then the Pablo Torre stuff comes out about how basically Mike Lombardi lied his entire career.
It's certainly a story. I just feel like it didn't get the ink that some of these other things did.
But we had his girlfriend going to
it was all very strange.
Adult cheerleading competitions and getting in fights with the media and owning a bunch of houses. Like, it was just none of it. It's all just really weird. And it's funny how poorly it went. And you're right, everyone just kind of stopped talking about it. It's like people feel bad for him, which I never thought Bill Belichick would be at that point.
I don't feel bad for him.
I got one.
Okay, hit me.
Mentioned the Eagles. I mean, the dominance of the playoff run is one thing, but then that one against the Rams in the snow, where Saquon, who has this amazing year, his run, he breaks a 70-yard run, he's slapping his head going down the field. I would say that's, like, when I think of the NFL season from last year, that's one of the first stills or highlights that come to my mind.
I agree with that.
It's funny because the Daniel stuff sticks out more in my mind. Just because he was a rookie, he was on an underdog team, and he was just exciting.
There's no doubt that was the best game of the playoffs last year, was that Eagles-Rams. The Rams were the only team that even laid a glove on them. So you make a strong case there. That's true.
Yeah.
How about Torpedo Bats?
That was cool for about 3 weeks.
And then you never heard about it again.
Heard about it again.
Well, they're even funnier in retrospect because, like, the face of the Torpedo Bat thing was Anthony Volpe, who hit like 3 home runs in his first 4 games and then went on to have just an absolutely terrible season, to the point where Yankees fans are basically calling for his head. And also that the team that looked like they were the worst team in baseball because of their Torpedo Bats was the Milwaukee Brewers, who got swept by the Yankees by a composite score of like 40-4, and then went on to have the best record in baseball.
And then got swept in the World Series, or the National League Championship Series, like 40-4.
Yeah, also bad.
The Torpedo Bats weren't a real hack.
So outside,
I would say if you're looking for like other baseball stuff, it's probably, I mean, there are other baseball playoff moments, but it's
Springer's home run.
The Springer home run, and it's the Tigers Mariners game 5 extra innings. I think it went to 15.
Or just the Tigers collapse.
Yeah.
Like the biggest player story this year, I actually don't think it was Ohtani. I actually think it was Cal Raleigh. But again, like how important is that? I do have so I have one other football moment.
Oh, I have one other football moment too.
What is yours?
Trump and the broadcaster.
That's my moment. That's my moment. It was the most outrageous, stunning period of time. Like, what is going on here? Yes, that was it. So that's the other moment. So
it's funny because we watch all the games at my office, Gary, and like we used to at either the Dogs Bullocks or at the office when we used to watch games. There's 8 games on, 1 has sound, and then we're like, some of the crappy games get put in TVs that are hard to see. That game was in a game that was hard to see, and then we just look over. Is Trump in the booth with Jonathan Vilma? Like, what is happening here? Let's watch this for a second. They starts like riffing on 1960s tight end.
Yeah, when he thought he was talking to Washington's home commentators by saying, "You guys got a great team here with the Commanders. You'll be fine. You got a good quarterback." He's like calling plays, doing a terrible job. It was a surreal moment.
Yeah.
Like, what am I watching? Yeah, that was my other football moment.
I have one more basketball one.
Okay.
From this season.
The NBA Cup, which everybody loves.
Yeah. The Knicks deciding to not raise an NBA Cup banner is very funny for several reasons. We can talk about that if you want.
No, not really.
I think, look, I'm not saying this as, I don't want to really validate the record, quote unquote.
Scotty Barnes, game 13, he was so sick.
When you start breaking down what like the actual qualifications for what this was, it's really not that impressive. But it's just one of those things that had been in my life for so long that it almost just it was just a constant. But LeBron losing his consecutive regular season games, scoring at least 10 points, which had been going on since I was in high school. I believe the last time he hadn't done it was 2007. It was something like 1,300 consecutive games.
Wow.
And he did it he had an opportunity to send a game to overtime or to try to score the game-winning bucket. And he did the thing that he has been sort of ostracized about his entire career. He passed it to an open player and made the correct basketball play. And they hit a game-winning shot. And it's just because it's the Lakers, just because it's LeBron. But again, that was one of those records that, I mean, it had just been so omnipresent. It was LeBron always scores at least 10 points. And to kind of tie that just with the fact he's clearly like he's finally looking human was basically kind of what that storyline meant. But it was also funny just to see guys with, losing $25,000 who had just constantly been betting on this prop over and over and over again. But that's kind of like the LeBron moment of 2025, I would say.
So to put that into context, there was something going around like if Shea scored 10 points, played 78 games, he would pass LeBron in like 2042 or something like that, like playing 80 games a year or something like that. It's remarkable.
There is another football moment I did forget, which is huge. I don't know how we forgot it.
What is it?
And I don't know, maybe we need a little bit of distance to like
Rivers coming back.
It's the River story.
That
is going to be
it's not. This
one
is really,
of the most consequential things we talk about.
You continuously talk about this. No one agrees with you, and it's not how it's.
I don't think it's true at all. I think people do care. It's the wildest story.
It's a fun story. So your claim of that when Rivers gets remembered, he gets remembered for this is fucking insane.
But I think it's the reason he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer now.
I don't know if he will because if Rodgers retires, then he's not going to be a Hall of Famer.
I still think
he's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Rodgers will get.
I think we need some more distance from this. But like in 15 years from now, 20 years from now, it's the thing from this season people are going to remember almost immediately.
I don't think you're right.
I don't agree.
I think it's funny because look, obviously NFL to MLB is not comparable. Just in terms of like what people are focusing on and what they remember. But in terms of like a player of Phillip Rivers' status for the entirety of his career, I think Dave Stieb is pretty comparable.
Yeah.
And this happened. Like Dave Stieb retired for 5 years. He came back. He was okay. And no one talks about it anymore.
It'd be different if Brady came back. and played well. Like Rivers has played okay as he's
Okay.
0-3.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe we're still too close to it.
We're not too close to it.
I think in retrospect,
no
it'll
one
seem
cares
huge.
that much. Like it's a fun story. That's about it. It's like it's hilarious. They had to go get old man Rivers to come play quarterback for them. It would be different if we didn't have a bunch of 40-year-old quarterbacks in the league as well. Like Rodgers is 42.
Or if he had led the team to the playoffs.
Yeah, like if it had made a noticeable difference in their season, it was just kind of a state of all these quarterbacks are fucking terrible. We have to bring back Phillip Rivers. What are we doing?
Okay, I'll lay down my sword on it.
You
no, I'll lay it down. That's fine. Okay,
I think it's notable for sure. I just like I don't know. Obviously, it's another level, but is it really that different from like 39-year-old Josh Johnson starting a game for the first time in 4 years?
Okay, no, fair enough.
Or Joe Flacco continuing to play football.
Concede, I could be wrong on this. That's fair.
I do think it helps his Hall of Fame case. But your comment of this is what he'll be remembered for is crazy.
Maybe other than his AFC Championship game, he lost on an ACL. I think it'll be one of the enduring images that people have of Phillip Rivers.
I think the Phillip Rivers moment, sadly, is just draft night.
No, the Phillip Rivers moment that people will remember Phillip Rivers for isn't one specific thing. It's him just being goofy Phillip Rivers and jawing on the field. That's what people remember about Phillip Rivers. And having like 13 kids.
Yeah, the children. He is the Antonio Cromartie of quarterbacks.
You seem sad about that.
No, that's fair. No,
I didn't mean to jump down your throat.
No. I think you make a good case. That's fine.
Jordan Wisely winning season 40 of the challenge, cementing himself as maybe the greatest competitive challenger of all time, Garion. More than CT, more than Johnny Bananas.
I can't remember if it was that season or if it was the season prior, but the one where he was just toying with the rookies in eliminations, like Jordan's the man.
Yeah. One arm, one hand too.
And now he's just like a scratch golfer.
I don't know if he's a scratch golfer. He took up golf and he's quite good. Oh, who scored a touchdown?
Caffrey scored.
Yeah, I did.
There you go.
I didn't want to ruin the timestamp though, Tim.
Well, it is 2026.
This is all in the past now. We still don't know who won your fantasy matchup. Well, is him, because he won that in December and January. Obviously, he won it the year previous when it was filmed. But he wins in the Battle of the Eras, 40 people. He ends up coming out on top. However, in the latest season, Garion, Olivia wins while being pregnant.
While pregnant, yeah.
She didn't know she was pregnant at the time. What's a more impressive victory?
I guess climbing a mountain while pregnant is pretty impressive.
Well, one of the Turbo was the best guy on that season. He had to be airlifted off the mountain because he had hypothermia, and this pregnant lady just goes right on by him. It's huge.
I will say too, just for anyone out there who's like a tennis fan, we should probably just mention Alcaraz.
That's on my list. That the French Open final.
What happened in the French Open final?
Was the Alcaraz Sinner championship match. Probably.
You mean Nadal Federer?
The most exciting tennis match I've seen. And I'm not a tennis historian. I haven't seen every great tennis match. But I tend to tune in a decent amount during the Grand Slams. And that French Open final between Alcaraz and Sinner was so memorable. I remember coming away from that going, oh my goodness, that's the best tennis I've ever watched. And other people, that seemed to break the barrier a little bit where people were talking about how exceptional that French Open is.
Was it better?
And Alcaraz and Sinner becoming the new Nadal and Djokovic and Federer, being decisively and apart the next wave of men's tennis. And just the two of them, that's really important too. They've finally made that decisive step forward, that we've moved into a new era, their era, and left the other guys behind. And that match was the crown jewel. There was never a Federer Nadal match, I don't think, quite as phenomenal as that 5-set match was.
What about that Wimbledon 5-set that ended up going to all of the extra games? It was 2007, 2008.
Oh, it was the American guy, but was that
Yeah.
No, that was Isner and someone that went to a zillion matches.
Yeah.
But no, there was the Wimbledon final.
You could be right, and I don't remember the exact match, but of what I can recall, the Sinner Alcaraz final this year in Paris was just an all-time moment.
The 2008 final.
Okay.
Was Federer and Nadal. It won this poll on Reddit.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And maybe it was better. Or so I'm wrong to say there was never a match that good. But in the last memorable period of time this is the best tennis match I ever saw.
Okay. Tennis. I didn't watch it. or paid attention.
Well, fair enough. You don't watch tennis in the way that I do. I tune in for the Grand Slams. You don't.
No, I don't. But I find it funny that like this was so important. But it's like to judge sports from the outside, like being in the sports sphere and paying attention to sports, like what breaks through. That just did not.
But it did to Garion and me. So.
Well, I do think it says something, though, that it still hasn't quite reached the heights of like where Federer was must-watch television. Nadal was must-watch television for people who weren't even really sports fans, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like Federer was up there with Tiger as like the most important athlete on the planet for a 5-year stretch.
Yeah, they were all in those Gillette commercials together. Who was the third person?
Thierry Henry?
Yeah, I think it was Henry.
It was Tiger, Federer,
and Thierry Henry, yeah.
I feel like Henry's the odd man out.
Well, he had just won the World Cup.
Sure, but
the French.
We think about like historical dominance in their sports. Tiger and Federer are the first, second, or third best players ever in their sport. I'm no soccer.
Maybe Pele was busy
with his Crestfield wax paper.
He's king of the soccer field. You can be king of the kitchen with Crestfield wax paper. So French Open, any soccer that happened this year?
Jordan.
You have the best soccer of the moment this year is a half hockey moment of the year.
Inexplicable way that Wayne Gretzky, knowing that 1 billion people were going to be watching him.
That is true.
And knowing which pod he was and knowing what pod he was calling. And not being prepared to pronounce at least 3 countries that he knew. Macedonia, Jordan, and the other one was Curacao.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like one of probably the most watched thing in the world this year of sports was the World Cup draw.
Why did they give him the pot that had the most possible countries to read?
And again, but he knew the countries in advance. Yeah. He could have like spent, I don't know, the day before going on Google and typing that button that tells you how to pronounce things.
When you're in the bottom of a bottle, it's hard to Google, or at least remember what you Googled.
I'm not gonna go down that road.
I can go down that road. I've seen it.
He should have been ready.
Him get kicked out of basically his own bar.
He should have been ready to pronounce the names of the countries he knew he was going to have to say on worldwide television. That was a moment. That, to be fair, that whole show was a spectacle of disaster.
Is that the one where they gave Trump the man of the FIFA Man of the Year?
FIFA Award of Peace
the FIFA
that
Peace
they invented.
Prize.
It was the first annual Montgomery Burns Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence. That's what that was.
It's funny. I never really thought of that comp as Trump as Mr. Burns.
In this way,
it kind of works.
Yeah. That whole show, it went on for like 4 hours. It was terrible. People only tuned in for like the last 20 minutes that really mattered, and even that was poorly done. So doesn't augur well for the World Cup in a few months. I'll say that.
Yeah. Other than that, like I just can't speak to it. I know there was like the Club World Cup was this year. I think Chelsea won that.
I don't watch that.
So there might have been a moment, but yeah, the people in the chat can tell us.
You want one?
Yeah, give me one, Jared.
Sure. Club World. I don't think many actual soccer fans watch the Club World Cup, but Liverpool. Everybody knows Liverpool, I think. Their longtime manager, retired, whatever. Everybody thought he was going to rebuild year. And the guy comes in and wins the most competitive and best league in the world. First tee. By a landslide, too.
What was the tournament that Trump was trying to give the championship trophy
over to? That was Champions League, wasn't it?
And trying to keep it for himself and like give it to people. And like they didn't know he'd be on the stage and he wouldn't leave. Again, doesn't augur well for what we're going to see in the World Cup final. But anyway.
The other one I have is just WNBA talking points.
Sure.
If you use the Sharp Sack system from 4for4.com, betting on the NBA was very profitable, despite not me watching a second of
WNBA.
WNBA, sorry. But this is more of a Jeff type commentary, but Jeff being very mad when they demand more money, and then me pointing out that, so league-wide, the teams are now worth 180% more at the end of 2025 than they were at the end of 2024.
Wow.
So you can bitch and complain that the league doesn't make money, but you also can't have a team selling for the Golden State Valkyries for $500 million. Yeah. If a franchise is worth $500 million in your league, you can't pay the players minimum wage. I'm sorry.
There's going to be like one of the defining stories of 2026 will be the WNBA strike because it's coming.
Okay, so how do you feel like people fall on the side of most strikes
with labor?
I think it's changed. It's changed since '94.
I think that more people are on the owner's side than the player's side.
I think that's less the case. Like again, when I think the defining strike of our, I guess not my generation, but of the generation, loosely, is the 94 MLB players strike, where some people stopped watching baseball entirely because they were that frustrated with the players. I think we've seen, at least I know from baseball's almost strikes and lockouts, far more people are now on the side of the players, just in terms of like they're not like happy the players are. They're still millionaires, but I think more people are upset at the billionaires at this point.
I think people would side. I mean, most people. This has the potential to be a very divisive issue because people who, I mean, I'm talking about it. I don't really care about the WNBA either way, but people like me and people much worse than me are going to have opinions on this.
Yes.
And it'll be fueled about knowing nothing.
Yes.
And you're going to have some racially motivated, sexually motivated type things coming from every which way. But again, you can't be investing this much money, making this much money on something, and not paying the actual participants in the league any money.
Mr. Burns, the money falling through the ceiling and the crown landing on his head after saying how strapped for cash he was.
Well, they're literally adding expansion teams like every single year.
Yeah, like an NFL team like 8 years ago sold for like $500 million. So like if a WNBA team is selling for that much, there's obviously a ton of money to be had.
That was the most expensive one. The Golden State Valkyries were valued at $500 million.
Until the next one sells.
Well, there was one that was sold off like for parts, like part equity at a valuation of $350 million. I think that was the New York Liberty, which would probably be the second or third most valuable of any of these teams.
You would think.
But still, like you can't pay the players like $60K a year. It's not the fucking CFL.
No, you're right.
Now, do you think that's a projection of where they think the league is going?
It has to be. If people are investing money in at that price, that is exactly what it's worth.
Because the WNBA hasn't turned a profit in a long time, ever. I don't think.
Sure.
They've been like subsidized by the NBA, so like which would make total sense if they're like projecting, okay, this is actually getting really popular.
But even the fact they're subsidized by the NBA is important. Like that's how the WNBA survived in the first place. Like they had a competitive league when in the mid 90s. I can't remember what it was called. But they basically only survived. They were offering less in salary than the other league, but it was because they had that partnership and that security of having the NBA backing them. Like that means the league will survive because the NBA is there. And yeah, to Pat's point, like the way these teams are selling, like there's just gonna be a strike. There's really no if about it.
And I would agree with you, Jared, that they're not making money. And that's been the case for most of the WNBA's history, is that they're not turning a profit. That's why these players, they'd have to go play in Russia during the offseason to go make any sort of money or go play in China. But now that real money is being invested in this, the projection would be the real money is going down on this.
And the labor force is not big either.
No.
Like we're talking about like 120 players, 130 players across the league. Like it's a very small labor pool, and there's a lot of money the capital is making. So.
And I would guess that is their TV deal tied in with the NBA's, Garion?
I believe so. I mean, just the way it's structured, that they are playing their games during the off season of the NBA.
The autumn, right? Don't they like play their championships in like
when the NBA just did its new deal? Does that include NBA and WNBA?
I don't know.
Or does so let's see. Yes, the WNBA has its own major multi-platform media rights deal, including a landmark 11-year, $2.2 billion agreement in 2024 with Disney, Amazon. Like 2.2, like the players, even if you have to pay the debt out from all the years it lost money, which if the NBA was subsidizing it anyway, that was like free.
That's right.
They're not paying that back. So some of this money has to go to the players.
I agree.
I also don't think if that came across as anti-player, it's definitely not.
No. But that is the common pushback that I hear about this, and that would have been true up until basically Caitlin Clark got to the league.
But it's also like when the Steinbrenners come out and say that the Yankees are losing money. Like, sure, if you want to position this as like, is the actual like day-to-day function of the team running in the red or the black? Maybe it's running in the red, but the actual value of the thing you own is, for the Yankees specifically, like in the $7 to $8 to $9 billion.
That's right.
Range.
Yeah, the asset itself is worth something. The operational cost.
You can definitely position yourself all the time, being like, "Well, we're not making money, but
then sell the team and see what you're worth."
Yeah, you need your chefs.
You'll have no trouble selling the Yankees for $9 billion.
And especially with the Yankees, it's almost like the Blue Jays. Like the Blue Jays clearly made a ton of money.
Rogers had to be raking it in the last
I think they
3
estimated that Rodgers over just the playoff run alone made something like $400 million.
Don't doubt it for a second.
But they could structure it where, well, the operational costs of running the facility were this much, and technically the Blue Jays didn't make this much. Technically, the app where you watch the Blue Jays made this much.
It's all the same thing when you own it all.
But it's no different than the Yankees.
I guess that's true.
Like, the Yes Network actually lost $40 billion this year. We ran in the black. We ran in the red. Like, to pay less tax.
Yeah.
You can structure the accounting any way you want. It seems like there's now money in the.
I have trouble.
The WNBA is like the banana stand now. There's money in it.
I have a lot of trouble crying poor for the owners. There's too much money out there. It's hard for me to imagine the circumstance in the near future in any of the professional sports where I would be sympathetic towards management over labor in this spot.
The only one where I actually would be sympathetic to the owners over the players would be the current NBA agreement, because it just seems really stupid. Not that they're getting paid too much. It's just you can't make trades anymore.
Yeah.
It's taken some of the fun out of the league.
Yeah, the CBA is complex, to put it mildly. And the aprons now with and the amount they're taxing teams that are willing to actually compete and try, it is quite a lot. But hey, again, they got a Luka trade done. So for everyone complaining that no trades can happen, like they still happen. They're just harder.
The only other one that I really had down that I thought was a major story it's difficult to talk about is NIL. Is college football, what is college football going to look like in 5 years? Is it just going to be minor league football, but with young, like under 21 football?
I would say the thing that has the sort of defining moment for me was just seeing the way that even like Twitter accounts, official Twitter accounts of like reputable news sites are covering NIL, where it's almost like such and such player has agreed to sign with such and such college. Like it truly is being presented as like a free agency session every offseason.
Yep. And I'm not sure if it's good or bad either. Like, and I noticed it this year more than any other year. It's like the bowl season's not even a thing anymore.
No
one cares about the bowl. Like 10 years ago, the bowls were a big deal and people who watch sports cared. Now, who cares? Means nothing. All that matters is the college football playoff. And unless you're like Garion and I and incredibly put off from the season and not even watching those games.
You know what? Your team could have went and played in the most memorable, the only bowl that I've heard about so far this year, the Pop-Tart Bowl.
But I think even, again, it's funny that it's the Pop-Tarts Bowl specifically, but I think they showed like attendance numbers, not even ratings, but attendance numbers for the Pop-Tarts Bowl, or I think it was the Camping World Bowl before Pop-Tarts took it over, like have basically been cut in half in the last decade.
Yeah, it's not a thing anymore. And I'm not sure if it's good or bad. That
it's going to be less of a thing too when it's a 16-team playoff, and even more of these bowls are just consolidated into the playoff.
College football in particular, and basketball to another degree, but less so because of the tournament. But like college football is just, it's a very different experience than it was 10 years ago. And I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but it's just really different, and we're just going to have to live with it.
This ends up with college football having a 32-team league, and you pay the players a ton, and they're run like NFL franchises.
Kind of like it's where we're already at in some
yeah,
ways.
But we're
like
not
four major conferences.
But we're not, because you still have the mid-majors of the world. You have some of these schools that
on the skirts. Yeah, like on the skirt of things.
But you just cut them out. They're not a part of your TV deal anymore. You get to keep more money.
Yeah,
it's just a league like the NFL.
I think the ratings of the games that where the mid-majors were featured this year, there's going to be, right or wrong, I don't think that's going to be much more of a thing that's happening in the playoff.
I agree. You can do that in the tournament because you have 64 teams and you can put those types of teams in. When you only have 10, 12, 16, whatever it is, you have space for one max.
Well, how is it affecting college basketball? Because clearly the thing you hear about most is college football. But I read today, and I don't know if they're going to allowed to do it, but there was a guy on the Bulls, Garion, who has like a 2-way contract.
Yeah.
And he's played minutes for the Bulls this year. And now he might just go back to college.
I can't answer your question about how this works. I have no idea. I've seen it. It's not just one guy though. There are several players who,
I saw one guy who got drafted. I think it was like
4 years ago.
31st 2 years ago by the Hornets.
Yeah.
I don't think he played in an NBA game, but now he's going back to Baylor.
There have been guys who played full seasons in the G League who now might be eligible to go back to college. I think the reason we probably don't hear about it as much is, just to be frank, not as many people care about college basketball until March Madness. but you still have any player that would be like truly moving the needle in terms of like NIL money to go to a big school, or these guys are just leaving after 1 year anyway. So you're really just putting the NIL up in the recruiting process. They're coming for 1 year. You already know that. I mean, I guess sometimes a case has been made in like a lighter draft class that maybe you do stick back and make like another $2-3 million playing in college. But I don't think the numbers are quite as big in college basketball as they are in college football.
The tournament still swallows everything in its wake in a way that it's not quite the same in college football.
Well, the highest rated college football games are higher rated than the tournament.
Yeah, although the national championship game is probably pretty close.
I don't think that it is.
Like it gets a massive number. But my point is that like college football has a lot more going on as a sport rather than just its playoffs. Like it's week to week football games are important and they get massive ratings, and the season isn't just about the playoff. There's a lot that leads up to it. Whereas like the tournament is the only thing that matters in March Madness, and like it, because of where it falls in the calendar, like swallows up all the sporting attention for 1 month. And so like I think they've found themselves a good little niche.
Let's see, the top sports, it's NFL, then college football, then it was the World Series.
Makes sense this year.
Like college basketball.
But usually, yeah, the college championship game gets a huge number.
Is there
I couldn't think of one off the top of my head, but was there a defining moment for March Madness this year?
Duke blowing that huge lead in the Final Four.
I just remember Derek Queen doing stuff.
I remember Derek Queen. I do remember the Duke blowout.
That's what I can remember. Is the Duke meltdown. That's all I can remember.
But I wonder if that's because we're now getting older. That college basketball to me felt more important, even though I didn't live in that country or go to those schools. When I was 20,
I agree.
Other guys were 20. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool.
I agree.
Here's Ali Farouk.
There was a time I never want to miss.
Thinking of a different, like of last year, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I almost feel like this year was historic for how few upsets there were.
I think that's right.
2 days.
I used to not miss a single second of the first 4 days of the tournament. It was like I just couldn't miss it. And now it's like I'll watch the games and I want to watch them, but like if I miss like 2 or 3 slates of the games, it's okay. Whatever.
So I got something that kind of like ties this all together with Tim's point about college football changing. Do you think that this will like encourage rivalries a little bit more, where players will stay instead of being one and done, will stay for 2, 3, 4 years, kind of like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese? Like the reason that's so big is because they were in the biggest games playing against each other. Like
that's what basketball needs.
College football actually.
Well, that's what basketball needs. That's what made college basketball.
They're going to make way more money in college than they would at the professional.
College basketball.
That's never going to happen for for men's college basketball players. That will never happen. But there are guys in college football who will earn more money. Running backs, especially. If I was a running back, I would stay all 4 years in college. You've got someone like get
Carson
like $20 million a year,
and then you get more polished players.
Not going to ever be an elite prospect. NFL prospect at quarterback, but who obviously was such a massive part of Georgia. I don't know if it was reported what sort of NIL deal he got with Miami, but again, it Notre Dame had done this the 2 years prior, where you just again you go hire a quarterback for $5 million of NIL money, like, and I think that's what you're going to get, is you're just going to get these like Aaron Kraft types happening in college football, just quarterbacks for hire who know they're not going to be ever more than like a 6th or 7th round pick and a practice squad player.
Yeah. What made college basketball much, much bigger than the NBA until about 20 years ago was that the rivalries mattered and people stayed for 3 or 4 years.
When you say 20 years ago, you mean 40 years ago?
Well, till like at least till like
mid-90s?
At least till mid-90s. At least
early
till like
90s?
Mid to early 90s.
Magic and Bird left, it was the NBA.
No, even after that. Like probably right around like 1993, 94.
So like when Jordan started winning titles.
Yeah, like what made college basketball significantly more important and interesting was you had massive rivalries in colleges that were, again, rivals against each other. People stayed for forever. People knew the teams. It was far more compelling. And so like that's what college basketball needs if it's ever going to try to recapture some of its glory beyond just March, is having in the way that Jared suggested for football, having guys stay 3, 4 years together, having a real team, knowing who that team is each year. Oh, I know the guys on that Florida team. I know the guys on that Georgetown team, because you've seen them 2, 3 years in. Like that does huge benefits for the sport.
I think you will see.
If everybody's just a mercenary and it's just a 1 year mercenary, then it loses the magic. And people don't. people don't really care as much. I really don't think people who like college sports want them to be like pro sports. Pro sports exist for pro sports.
No.
College sports exist.
I disagree. I think
they have to be different.
What you say on the surface, I think, is correct. That they don't want it to be pro sports, but they also want their team to win more than anything else. They have to pay as much money as possible in order to make that happen. And you're seeing what happens.
I agree, but at what cost, right?
Like you're seeing it, what the cost is right now is that no one can keep track of who's on what team, who's coaching here one year and not there the next year,
and that's bad.
Ooh,
it's bad for the product. That does
remind me that actually is probably one of the most important sporting moments of the year.
Lane Kiffin,
the Lane Kiffin saga, the 24-hour Lane Kiffin. We're outside his house doing reports.
Mm-hmm. I hope Mississippi wins the national championship.
So does my sister.
Ah,
hey, your sister went to Ole Miss, didn't she?
Yeah.
I hear Oxford's a lovely town.
Was she a big?
I saw Johnny Manziel lead a comeback drive in the fourth quarter against Ole Miss after partying in the Grove. SEC football is fun. I will give it that.
I went to a bachelor party 5 years later in Montreal and saw Johnny Manziel having a cig outside of a strip club.
And like Big Ten football is great, and ACC football is great, but when it's Stanford in the ACC, which is on the Pacific Coast in the Atlantic Coast Conference, that should be the thing where we go, okay, something's wrong.
This is why it turns
UCLA and USC are in the Big Ten playing each other, something's wrong here.
This is why it turns into a 32-team league.
Which is why, the people who were against paying athletes had a point, even if they weren't right. They had a point that once you open the door to allow some of this stuff, all heaven is going to break loose. And that's exactly what's happening.
Because they had put nothing in place to make it, I don't want to say equal or fair, but there's seemingly no rules to this stuff.
No, you went from having ridiculously stringent rules to having no rules, and that's not good either.
No, but you should be. These guys should make a ton of money.
Sure,
they should make a ton. And you're like at one point, I'm sure that the $40,000 a year scholarship in housing, like you earn the right to come. They don't even go to the fucking school anymore. Course,
there has to be a happy medium between having rules where like guys are suspended because they like got a pair of pants or something for free from a booster. That was silly. And like allowing people to be on 4 college teams in 4 years.
There's probably
can't have that either. Can't have it.
There's probably a transfer limit. I feel like that's probably the
or
thing.
Once you make your decision, you commit to multiple years. When you make your choice, you are bound to them for 2 or 3 years.
Like, there's no such thing as a 1-year contract.
No, when you can go wherever you'd like, but when you decide I'm going to Tennessee, you're going to Tennessee for X amount of years, and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, but then you can't have Lane Kiffin leave on you like that too.
Well,
like,
then
coaches can't have autonomy either.
Maybe there needs to be penalties for coaches who leave before their contracts are over.
Like you get a finger cut off if you do it.
No,
like you really want to leave.
If you haven't been fired, you can't go seek another job until your contract is up. If you're the one who chooses to leave, and again, for what reason? The idea that you can win more at LSU than Mississippi was true 15 years ago. I'm not so sure it's true anymore.
I looked up the ratings for those games. The college football playoff was the 20th highest rated sporting event of the year. The college basketball final was the 37th highest rated.
Okay, so both were lower than I figured they were.
But the college football championship was 20. The semifinal was 24 and 27.
Also, the championship game had Notre Dame in it.
Ohio State.
And Ohio State in it. So like,
schools, yeah.
If it's, it's Oregon and Indiana, or exactly.
We'll see.
You'll just have lower. You'll have lower.
Football is just more popular.
Of course it is.
Pat, do you think if it turned into a 32 team, like relegation?
Maybe.
Yeah, like relegation.
That's actually a more fun concept.
I want more relegation.
Yeah, 100%. Relegation is fun.
Michigan can get relegated for a bit.
Well, that would be your penalty.
Seems like
right?
the University of Michigan could go on relegation for a bit.
Well, that's one of the weirdest stories of the year.
Seems like there was no institutional control, as they say, going on there.
Is there anything you feel like we missed here?
No.
Any UFC stories?
I'm sure there are, but I'm not the person.
The fight on the White House lawn, did that happen this year or is that this year?
I think that's like July.
I thought that Jake Paul versus Tyson was this year, but that was last year.
Jake Paul getting knocked out 2 weeks ago.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not the person to speak about contact sports. I'm sure that there's stuff, but I can't.
I'm sure that there was like a real
contact sports.
I meant to say combat sports. I just don't.
I'm sure that there was a high-end boxing match championship somewhere.
There had to have been.
That just I didn't pay attention to. But honestly, God, Jake Paul does take the Paul brothers Jake Paul in particular for boxing, soaks up all the air for boxing.
He soaked up that punch too.
He did.
Oh,
Would you get punched? Would you?
No, I would not.
You got $90 million.
What would it cost to completely reconstruct my face?
Probably like 20 grand. Let's say 50, let's say 100 grand.
There are very few sporting events where if I thought I wasn't going to die or be permanently maimed, I wouldn't take $90 million for.
Yeah, I think everyone's taking the $90 million bucks.
For that.
The thing you have to,
I'm surprised that, like, look, obviously getting punched in the face by a professional boxer is crazy. I'm surprised you're that sure that would hurt you more than Derrick Henry just running you over.
it's true.
I do think it would. At least I have pads on. I see it coming. I can protect myself a little more than like if I get punched hard in the face by like a top tier boxer, I will be unconscious before I hit the canvas.
Good. You don't even remember.
And I will not be beating the count.
No.
Where'd I get this $90 million from? This is great.
They give it to you in a sack. You put it on your unconscious body in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
Sort of like maybe the $1 Million Man will come out and stuff it into your mouth. $100 bills.
Anyway, that's what I got. That's what my moments.
John Cena last match
Yeah.
is like the wrestling story. Never really cared for John Cena. I enjoy him more as an actor.
I mean, the biggest wrestling story is Hulk Hogan dying. That was a moment.
Yeah, it's not really a
It's
story.
not a thing. You're right. Yeah.
It's a weird legacy too from Hulk.
A very mixed legacy. There's some very troubling stuff, but also some transcendent
I would say
stuff.
like 90% of it is very
There's
troubling.
obviously a lot of
Very
troubling
troubling.
stuff with Hulk Hogan, but like
the parts that you remember are him, I mean, creating millionaires in wrestling.
yes,
Bringing wrestling mainstream while just being coked out of his mind the entire time.
and being Mr. Mom,
He was Mr. Nanny.
Mr. Nanny. Sorry.
Michael Keaton was Mr. Mom.
Yes, he was.
That's it. You guys got nothing else on your list?
That's what I got.
That was my whole
That's
list.
my list.
All right, so let's come up with the top 5.
Well, the top 3 I think are decisive. We already agreed on that.
So we're
You
going to
think- you
go
think
with
hockey's in the top 3?
Oh yeah,
so Rory, hockey, and World Series.
yeah. Those 3 are in the top 5.
What are the next ones? I actually think the Luka trade is number 4.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think Luka,
I'm okay with it. It's on our list.
In the top 5.
Yeah.
Torpedo Bats, number 5.
No.
Shedeur, number 5. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, number 5.
Well, I
Number one?
guess they announced their engagement this year. That's
That's true. That's a giant moment. I'm gonna put that in the show notes. Taylor Swift,
yeah. Now she won the
Travis
title.
Kelce. Now we got SEO on the go for this episode. What would be number 5? It seems like there's those 4.
You and I both thought the Trump in the booth moment.
That is true.
It is a president in the booth of a game. Like that
The
is
transcendent moment for all the worst ways, perhaps.
For a 3rd tier afternoon Fox game.
Yeah.
Oh, but he was only there because he wanted them to name the stadium after himself.
And do the Pledge of Allegiance where they boot him because, of course, it's Washington. He's, of course, as unpopular as possible. The whole thing was very strange. We don't have to make that the number one, but I don't know what the 5th moment.
I don't know what the
I
5th.
will say the Tyrese Halliburton choke
Yeah.
against the Knicks with Reggie
Make-
Miller.
make
following
Halliburton
the
number
game.
5.
That was pretty fun.
The Pacers, Halliburton, sure. Make them number 5. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
What do we got to look forward to this year? World Cup,
Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Plus all the regular suite of sports. Like,
but we have the good Olympics this time, the Winter Olympics.
well, anyway, we have,
no, it's the good Olympics.
sure. Either which way, the even years gives us an Olympics and a major soccer tournament plus all the regular sports. So it's good times.
Oh, I didn't put in Notre Dame missing the playoffs as a very big story. You told me how big that story was.
It is a
Pretty
big
big
deal.
story.
It is a huge deal.
Yeah, but
It is.
Ryder Cup is big for people who like golf.
Yeah.
It's not big
And
in
what
general.
people learned about it was like, no,
Like, what
we don't want to
what
talk
would you
about
say would have been the second biggest thing in golf this year?
the Ryder Cup.
I don't know.
What
I bet
happened
you,
at Beth
I bet
Page
you
Black?
ratings would not be. I just,
No, it's not about ratings. It's about like what people who don't really follow golf would have heard and know about. That moment cut through the noise.
I don't think that it did because I think the Americans were getting beat by so much. A lot of the American media didn't cover it.
Okay.
The JJ Spawn putt was cool.
The JJ Spot like moment of him making
Yeah.
a 40-foot.
I mean,
putt
that
was
putt
really
is
cool.
actually the biggest. I mean, the
No.
Rory stakes are so much bigger, so it's Rory's.
but
But
that's
to
the
make
winning
that
shot.
90 some odd putt yard, like that was the greatest shot of the year.
No, the greatest shot of the year was Rory's shot on set 15 at Augusta.
I think the 90-foot putt.
Bending a 7-iron around a tree to get to a green and to
Oh, it's
basically
a
get
phenomenal
yourself
shot. Like,
back up to win the Masters.
it's a phenomenal shot.
After dunking it into the
Spawn
water.
making a 70-foot putt on
He
the
didn't need
hardest
to
golf
make the
course.
putt though.
He didn't need to, but it was a 70-footer. He did 2 putt 70-footer.
True, and he made it.
At the hardest golf course in the world, and he made it.
Trying to think like this once again begs the entire Scotty question of why Scotty Scheffler's not a super.
Yeah.
What did he do this year? He won like 7 times.
At least last year he went to prison.
Yeah, he won 2 majors and no one cares.
No, who cares?
The least memorable majors of the year, Scotty won them. Yeah, he won by like 5.
Yeah, who cares?
Just so funny when Tiger would win by. Thing is, Tiger would win by 12 strokes.
Yeah,
and no one would ever be close to him. Scotty will like give you a chance here and there, make it seem like you can come back, and then he wins by 5.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't even like golf. That was probably the biggest Scotty moment of the year.
Yeah, I'd rather be with my family.
Yeah, he's like, I'd rather be doing something else.
I would agree. It was.
Too bad. Nothing, no live stuff for you?
No.
What was the biggest live moment of the year?
I don't even know what the biggest moment was.
Mito retiring?
Probably Spieth leaving, isn't it?
No, Brooks leaving them.
Oh, Brooks, sorry.
Brooks left. Mito retired.
Probably it.
Bryson's YouTube channel had 20 bigger moments.
Bryson,
you know what? Trump playing with Bryson on Breaking 50 was a pretty big moment.
It was.
Happy Gilmore 2 coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rory, then these things, then Ryder Cup, I think we're looking at.
I agree.
All right, they'll do it. F1?
I think Lando Norris had a good year.
That could
Who's
be.
that?
He's a racer.
I thought Verstappen was the guy in F1.
Yeah,
He
I
is.
think
That's why it was a
Lando
big
took
deal.
it from him.
Oh,
Yeah.
he didn't win.
No, he did not.
And
Came
Lewis,
down to the last race, though. It was cool.
Lewis Hamilton didn't do anything.
Bad.
Poor guy.
Washed.
These are all racers, but I don't know much about it right now.
The racers? Do you think you could drive faster than them?
No. Well, I mean, it's just a car. You drive
Oh.
on a straightaway where there were no turns. Sure.
That's not a thing.
Like, no, of course not. So no, on a track, of course not. Of course not.
It's just a car.
I mean, it is just
you
a
press
car.
the gas and you go.
But no, I could.
Pretty sure Brad Pitt won.
Okay, that movie, was it just like a random Apple movie?
No, it came out in theaters. It made tons of money.
Did it?
It was just Top Gun Maverick in an F1 car.
So it's like Days of Thunder mixed with Top Gun. So Brad Pitt is just doing old cruise movies and updating them?
Yeah.
He does Cocktail.
We'll see about that. All right, I want to hear your guys' top 3 moments of the year. See how much they differ from ours. I want to thank you guys for doing this. Figure we'd do something we always do the Christmas show. We didn't do that this year.
No.
With
In
football.
fact, it's a shame because I finally spent the time to put together the definitive ranking of the 12 days of Christmas.
That's too bad.
And so, like,
We're not even
number 12.
We're not even going to humor you with this one.
All right.
But football falling on a Thursday really kind of took the air out of that. And now there's like dead time. There's no fantasy rankings this week.
No.
Unless you're like a real goober. And so, something for you to do. And do people care about the bowl games on New Year's Day anymore?
I don't.
So you can listen to this show. Tell your family about it. Download the show. Smash like. I want to thank Garion. I want to thank Tim. I want to thank all of you for being here in 2025 and hopefully see you again in 2026. That'd be great. If you're already here watching this, I already got you at least once, okay? See you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!